Hello YouTube vinyl community, I'm Jeff Paris and welcome to the Vinyl Record Info channel. And today, I got a really cool one. I'm going to be talking about what your musical tastes say about you. And kind of bringing you through my musical journey from childhood till now. It's funny thinking about how your taste changes in music. It's very interesting. Like I was just thinking back when I was in high school, some of the stuff I'm listening to now, I would have hated back then, So it is interesting to see how it all changes. In this video, I'm going to be showing you a ton of records, so just brace yourself. There's a lot of records going on here. And we're just going to jump right into it. So when I was a kid, like I'm talking elementary school to high school, my mom and dad, not my dad, my mom only listened to country music. In particular, like older country music. So that's kind of how how I was brought up on music, really. Here's another perfect example of that. Johnny Cash obviously is hugely influential, and my mom loved him, and I did too. Marty Robbins. When I was a kid, I loved Marty Robbins. This is like a greatest hits, but the promo copy, so it's kind of cool. You can see, I don't know if you can see on the camera, there's some promo stamps going across right here, but. Yeah, so basically Marty Robbins, this is like one of my first, introductions to like a concept album because the Ballad of the Gunslinger type stuff, I was just enthralled by the story of it, I loved it, all the El Paso series of songs that he has kind of told the story of a gunfighter from, in the 1800s, and then it kind of throughout the songs ends up to kind of modern day. I thought it was just so cool. I loved listening to those songs. Marty Robbins was huge. I really, really liked him a lot. And then, listen to a lot of country, and then, starting to branch out of country a little bit. My mom and dad, both my parents really liked Jimmy Buffett, and they were all about it. They used to drive down to Key West for vacation and leave me and my sister with my other family members, and they would take some time to themselves during the summer. But and then Jimmy Buffett, and then I fell in love with Jimmy Buffett. I really liked Jimmy Buffett a lot, and it wasn't quite country and it wasn't quite like rock and roll. You can call it yacht rock or whatever you want to call it, but like this is kind of like my first foray and maybe branching out. All I ever listened to really was, kid music or country. That was it, So then this kind of broadened my horizons a little bit. And I was like, oh, this could be, there's different music out there. And then when I got to like junior high school, right? And then all the way through high school, I grew up in the south side of Chicago. So rap was hugely influential in my neighborhood. Everybody listened to it. Literally down to the person, everybody listened to rap. It was that popular in the south side of Chicago, and I loved rappers from Chicago, obviously. So like Kanye West was an obvious one back then. He was for us kids in Chicago, Kanye West and Common were kind of like it was unbelievable. They were like kind of leaders in what you'd call like conscious rap, I guess, where there's a little more sophisticated lyrics and everything. Lupe Fiasco as well. So Chicago was kind of known for that. But then we also had our other rap too that we equally liked, like Twista and people like that. Like he filmed the music video like just the next town over in a strip club near where I lived. So we liked that kind of stuff too. But we were into that. And then in particular, for whatever reason, I got super into Southern rap. So especially anything from Georgia or Florida, I got really into it. T.I. was my favorite rapper of all time. Still is. I love T.I. But I also love Ludacris, his Chicken and Beer. This is a promo copy. The Red Light District, also a great one. And then Word of Mouth, also a promo copy. I think all three of those are promos, actually. I was super into Southern rap, so Outkast, T.I., Rick Ross, UGK, Young Jeezy, PSC, the whole Killer Mike David Banner, people like, I just love Southern rap. Anything from Georgia or Florida, basically, I was sucked into it. I don't know, I just like the flow of it and everything. It was just really, really fun to me. And then, me and my friends all listen to that kind of stuff. And then I started really getting into rock and roll. And me and my close friend group really was like, was influential to me because we all kind of started listening to classic rock together. And that was really kind of what, molded, I think, my trajectory to what I like today, was us getting it really into classic rock. And also collecting vinyl records. I started collecting vinyl records in high school. So that was kind of the first part of my journey into vinyl collecting as well. But so I'm going to show you a few things that, what really got us into classic rock. And there's a couple of key examples. I'll point them out when it comes up, though. So this is Joe Cocker, first U.S. Press with the help of my friends. I mean, we watched the Woodstock performance by him, and we're just like mind blown. It was like he went to like a different planet. It was crazy. We really liked watching it. We thought his singing was awesome. He was just kind of just new and different. It was so cool. And then we are so into CCR. I loved it. I mean, it is one of my favorite bands. Still is one of my favorite bands of all time. Cosmos Factory, and this is the first press of their first album without the Suzy Q emblem on there, but so it's first press on Fantasy. Yeah, so cool. Harder to get without the Suzy Q emblem on it. And then obviously Rolling Stones, Exile on Main Street is a promo copy of that. So cool. I mean, Rolling Stones is still one of my favorites. I prefer. Whenever people say like, "Are you a Rolling Stones, a Beatles guy?" I'm a Rolling Stones guy. I like Beatles, obviously, and I appreciate how influential they were. I was a Rolling Stones guy for sure. Let It Bleed, one of my favorite albums ever. Awesome, first U.S. press. And then obviously classics, Led Zeppelin. This is a RL press of Led Zeppelin 2. I loved Physical Graffiti. I think this is one of their better ones, but yeah, amazing. And then let's see here. So one of my first album, I always try to think back and like, what was the first record I ever got, right? And I think there was probably a few all at the same time that I got. I probably went to an Amvets or, some kind of thrift store in Chicago and, just grabbed some stuff, probably with me and my friends. And I can't remember like what the first records I ever got were, but I'm pretty sure this is one of them. And I was obsessed with it. I just listened to it over and over and over again on my little Victrola record player. It was like an all-in-one. The platter was only like this big. You put the record on there, half of it's hanging off of it, and it's a speaker, cassette player, CD player combo all in one. But yeah, it was this one. I mean, Billy Joel, The Stranger. I just listened to it over and over and over again. I loved it so much. Moving Out, and then Scenes from Italian Restaurant are on this album. And holy smokes, man. It was just, as a kid, I was like, man, I feel like I was listening to stuff that nobody else was, even though like every adult in the country was listening to Billy Joel. But I thought, when I was a kid, I was like, man, this is heavy stuff. This is so cool. Then I branched out and got into a little bit harder stuff, right? So AC/DC, Back in Black. This is a beautiful first press in the Shrink. Another amazing one, Dirty Deeds, Done Dirt Cheap. One of my favorites. I love this one. Flick of the Switch. Whoo, another cooker. And then For Those About to Rock, another amazing one. And then, now I'm going to show you probably the top two most influential albums when I was younger. In second place, I would say, is REO Speedwagon Live. I'm not kidding. I've told the story before, but like, I made my dad play 157 Riverside Avenue over and over and over again in his truck. Like, I just have a vivid memory of being a kid and just, making him play it in the truck. And then as soon as it was over, hit that rewind button, boom, we're listening to it again. I would listen to it the whole car ride wherever we were going, over and over and over again. I loved REO Speedwagon. I loved 157 Riverside Avenue, Riding the Storm Out. man, everything, every song. I mean, I loved REO Speedwagon, and they really influenced me in my kind of rock and roll journey, big time. This is really cool. This is their live album with the double timing strip. This is from the Voice of America collection, which I think is so cool. Like people from outside of America may have listened to this record for the first time off of this very record right here. Like they may have heard REO Speedwagon for the first time off this record. It's so cool, the history of it. I also have a promo 45 of 157 Riverside Avenue with it. It's just, I love this record. I love REO Speedwagon. They were hugely influential to my music to this day. And then the number one, maybe if you guys have watched this channel for a long time, you may know what record I'm talking about, but the most influential album to me, period. I mean, hugely influenced my path down, my musical tastes down the road, and still one of my favorite albums of all time, and that is Rush 2112. I would be curious what I'd be into now if I didn't have this album as a kid, and the only reason why I really did is because my dad is also the biggest fan of Rush ever. I mean, and just like growing up in Chicago, whether you're a Cubs or White Sox fan, it's whatever your dad was. My dad is a Cubs fan. I'm a diehard Cubs fan. Even though I grew up in the south side of Chicago, typically those are White Sox guys, but it's just whatever your dad is. And I also feel that with music. A lot of the times with music, whatever your dad listened to in the car when you're growing up, you kind of start to like too. Just like with my mom with country. He introduced me to Rush, and he was so passionate about it that I got excited about it as a kid. And then I, just dove head first, right into, this type of music. I loved it. Again, talk about concept albums. I loved when bands like told a story with their albums. I was just so into that as a kid. Maybe it's just like the storytelling aspect of it, but I was just so into it. And this is like the ultimate concept album. Really, it's half a concept album because it's just side A that has 2112 on it. But and then my copy here is, I love this record so much. I knew that I had to splurge and get the best possible copy. This is a first press in the shrink white label promo. You can't get any cleaner than this. I mean, this is unless you have a white label promo, I don't know how you get better than this copy. This is like museum quality. I love this album. I love listening to it. I mean, the story of 2112, go listen to that song and actually listen to the lyrics. It's so fun. It's so interesting, so cool. Somebody needs to make like a short story or a short movie about it because it's so cool. And then I'm just going to show you, this is their debut album, Rush, self-titled. This one's in the shrink, first U.S. press. So cool. Anybody who has one with instead of this building-looking Mercury album, if you have one that says Moon, contact me in the DMs or comment. Let me know that you have one. I'd be interested. It's incredible stuff. And then, again, this is my first Rush concert that I went to, was the Clockwork Angels tour. Here's my ticket that I went to at the first Midwest Bank Amphitheater. They used to call it the Tweeter Center back in the day. And then, so after listening to all the classic rock I could possibly listen to, just nonstop classic rock radio, and then getting into even some of the later stuff, the Van Halens and stuff like that. Not just 70s stuff, but just every bit of classic rock I can get my hands on. Then I started to broaden my horizons just a little bit. Nothing crazy, but especially my later years in high school to mid-high school, I started branching out a little bit, seeing what was out there. And movies had a huge influence on that for me. Movies really helped. A lot of movies really helped me kind of expand my horizons in music. I would hear a song in a movie and be like, "That's awesome! What is that? I've never heard that before." And I would go look it up. I was watching A Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger and Paul Bettany. Incredible movie, Shannon Sauceman. But I love The Knight's Tale. I thought it was just so fun. And there was a dance scene in Knight's Tale where the soundtrack to the dance was Golden Years by David Bowie. And I was like, what the heck is that? That song's awesome. I've never heard that before. And David Bowie is very, very popular, but back then, like I'm in, maybe a sophomore or junior in high school, I didn't know anything about David Bowie. And David Bowie didn't get a ton of play on classic rock radio. So it kind of blew my mind. I was like, what? And this is a first press of Station to Station. This has Golden Years on it. I was like, man, that song is awesome. And then so I listened to that, and I figured that out, and I was like, man, David Bowie's so cool. And then I found this album, and I was like, what? This expanded me even more. This is Ziggy Stardust. The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. Unbelievable. Again, another concept album. You're seeing a theme here. I loved artists who told stories. This is an incredible first U.S. press in the shrink. Man, I love this record a lot, and hugely influential in my music. And that started opening up my horizons a little bit more. I was watching a TV show called House, where he's like a doctor, and he was playing the piano, and he was playing this tune, and we had the subtitles up, and while he was playing the piano tune, it showed, sometimes on subtitles it'll show like who sings it, and it was Procol Harum, Whiter Shades of Pale. And I was like, man, I got to figure out what that band is. And I discovered Procol Harum. This is a first U.S. press on Durham. It says a Whiter Shades of Pale on it. Just incredible music. Again, opening my mind a little bit. Then my dad was like, "Oh, you like Procol Harum?" In college, we went to the Chicago Blues Theater, and we saw Robin Trower, who is the guitar player of Procol Harum. Then he went on solo. Had a solo career. This is Bridge of Sighs, first U.S. press. And I was like, then I was starting to get a little bit more into musicianship. I was like, man, some out of the, regular classic rock, some of these guys get like very technical and like very, very good musicians. So I started to appreciate that a little bit more. And then I was like, all right, I gotta expand my horizons here. I gotta find out even more stuff. And then I started getting a little bit deeper into things. And when you get a little bit deeper in the stuff, that's when, you start with some of the popular guys that maybe you didn't really get into when you were younger. So like in college or even after college, I started to like revisit them because I was like, I didn't really like it back when I was younger, like basically a kid, like early high school and stuff like that. I didn't get it. I didn't really understand it. This is a perfect example. Pink Floyd. I just didn't get it when I was a kid. Even in high school, I didn't really understand it. And so it took me, just aging up a little bit, having a little more experience in life, and like for my music to evolve and change to where I could actually sit down and listen to an album and like actually listen to it, not just jam out. Like, when you get a little bit older, you're like, oh, let me listen to the lyrics a little bit more and everything. So, I started getting more and more into Pink Floyd, especially into college and after college. I was like, I actually like these guys. This is the first U.S. press on that tower. So cool. I love Pink Floyd now. And then I, went out and discovered some other people. This is Cactus. This is a promo copy. This is like my first promo record I ever got, which kind of went me down the path of collecting promo records, and that bug bit me, and it has never let go. That bug bit me hard because I'm obsessed with promo records. There's a white label promo on Atco. This is not in good condition at all, right? But I keep it because it has sentimental value to me, because this is like my first promo record I ever got. So, but this is like, again, branches off out of your normal classic rock, but it's still like hard and heavy, awesome rock and roll, right? Guitar forward type, interface rock, and but it's out of the mainstream a little bit, Started to listen to more of that kind of stuff. This is Cactus, One Way or Another, another promo copy, another white label promo in Atco. Just awesome stuff. And then you get a little bit, even further out there, and look at Sir Lord Baltimore, right? This is a first U.S. press on Mercury. I actually got this first press sealed, which is so cool, and then opened it up because I don't really keep sealed records. But yeah, so this is about as clean as you can get it. This is unbelievable stuff, right along the same vein as that. And then Freedom. Again, just off the beaten path, but still, up that alley. You would enjoy this if you only listen to classic rock radio. You would enjoy this record. Again, another White Lip promo. This is awesome, awesome rock. And then, as I got older, way after college and everything, what started it all for me, which is the path that I'm on right now, is and this is after college. This is while I'm in the Navy. This record kind of started it all for me, like I'm sure it did for a lot of you. And that's 13th Floor Elevators, Psychedelic Sounds of the 13th Floor Elevators. And the whole time as a kid growing up, I had no interest in psych. I didn't like it. When I heard it, I'm like, this is gibberish. This is just random noises to me. No matter what it was, no matter what I heard, if it had a psych tinge to it, I was like, trash, no thank you. And I feel like that's common for a young man. Like, I don't know very many people like in high school, especially growing up in the early 2000s in high school, who would listen to a record like this or any type of psych. It just was not prevalent back then. It's barely prevalent now. It's just there's more and more collectors now, so they're getting into this kind of stuff. But I listened to this record as an adult. Finally, I was like, let me revisit it one day. And it blew my mind. It completely changed how I looked at music, how I collected records, what I liked. It was just such a long period of time from when I tried psych at first to when I tried this album as an adult. And again, it's just like how your tastes change. It's just unbelievable. Like I had no interest in psych, and I listened to this record and I was like, whoa. And it completely opened my mind to new things. I love this record. This is what started it all for me. And then as I progressed it down, I heard about this record, Toad, self-titled. This is a first Swiss press. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, I'm like, music can sound like this. This was unbelievable to me. Again, top 5 most influential records for me, because I love the mixture of blues rock. These guys are from Switzerland. There's like a different sound to that in itself, and then there's definitely some psych tinge to this as well. So very much mixing of genres, but then also just that hard and heavy, awesome rock and roll that I still love. Like I can't get enough of still. That early 70s hard rock sound. If you listen to this channel, I've said that 4,000 times, but that early 70s hard rock sound, I'm just obsessed with. And this has it. This is one of the best examples of it that I could possibly come up with. So again, this was like, again, like when I heard this record, I was really on the hunt for it as a vinyl collector too. Like it was at the top of my want list. I was like, I have to get a good copy of this. And, again, just hugely influential in my music collecting. Then I was like, how experimental can we get now? Like, can I even get out there a little bit further? I like 13th Floor Elevators, but they're also palatable to a lot of people who like psych, or just like music in general. They're palatable. Even if you don't like psych, you could like that record. It's heavy psych, don't get me wrong. It is right down the middle of psych, but you could like that record, even if not. So I was like, as again, I'm progressing in my vinyl record collecting too. Like my collection's getting bigger. It's getting more diverse in the things that I like. And then I heard all of the commotion and hubbubaloo about this record. And I was like, I don't even know what this is all about. I knew there was a banana, I didn't really know anything about this record. I knew Andy Warhol was part of it. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like that's the first thing you know about this record is Andy Warhol and the banana. I didn't really know anything about it though. So this is Velvet Underground and Nico. Again with the banana. Usually there's a big yellow banana here in this little thing. A little arrow right here says peel slowly and see, and then you get a pink banana underneath. Famously Andy Warhol designed the cover. I still have a little bit of banana on there, which is awesome. I mean, finding these in any type of banana on it is unbelievable. And then I've also showed this a million times, but this is the famous Emerson Torso cover. which basically just means there's a guy that you can see on the back of this that you typically cannot. The little upside down guy right here. Here's an arm. That's his face upside down. They had to quickly recall all of these that had that, so they either put a big black Velvet Underground and Nico stripe sticker over it to cover it, or on every subsequent pressing they airbrushed it out, so it's just a normal background. So this is my first mono copy with this is a West Coast mono with the Emerson cover and a little bit of Banana. Couldn't be happier with this copy, but this is out there. This is experimental, the definition of it, right? Not everybody likes this record, and it didn't sell a lot when it came out, and not everybody likes this record now. I think more and more people are getting introduced to it, so it's becoming more popular. But, I listened to this for the first time and was blown away. I love this record. I love it. And again, it's just one of those mind-opening experiences where, I didn't know music could sound like this. And it was incredible. And I started trying to find more stuff like this and, listening to the more underground stuff. And then, discovered Soft Machine. Again, another unbelievable, fantastic experimental rock record. I love this kind of stuff. That drew me to this, which is, even a little bit more popular, but I didn't really even know about it, that type of thing. And then, so I'm going to stop right there, and then I could go on to, I can make a part 2 easily with all the stuff that I then jumped into between psych, prog, foreign psych and prog, so like South American stuff, everything in Europe. I mean, just the incredible stuff that came out of Europe, especially in the psych and prog genres. I'm fully down that rabbit hole now. And it's interesting. It's just interesting how your music changes, your musical taste changes throughout the years. And so I appreciate you going on the ride with me. This video went a little bit long, but maybe I'll do a part 2 because I haven't really talked about metal or some of the deeper psych or prog stuff that I'm really into now. But that's just kind of the introduction of how my musical path went. So I appreciate it, and thanks.